Hey guys, and welcome back for today's video where I'm going to be running through 4 separate polls. 2 of them are state specific to Iowa as well as another Texas result. And then 2 of them are more national, and those are going to be from the Morning Consult as well as Reuters. I'm not going to be touching on every piece of data, so if you want to look at all of that for yourself, I'll have links posted down in the video description. So first, we're going to start with the national results. Taking a look here at the Morning Consult, these numbers just came out, and Joe Biden continues to lead the way with 37% of support, just a slight tick down from where he was last week, but not a statistically significant amount. It does seem like in recent weeks, Joe Biden has receded a little bit after he got a big boost when he came out and made his announcement. And that's typically been what we've seen from all of these different candidates. When they come out and announce, they get that immediate boost in their numbers, and then they kind of tail off in the weeks following that. Joe Biden still, though, in a pretty convincing first place position here at 37% support. Bernie Sanders sitting there in second place at 19%. And then there's a bit of a drop off going down to third place with Elizabeth Warren, who is the last candidate that registers at least double digits of support with 11%. And as we go through the primary process, it's extremely important to be registering at least 15% of support, because you have to get at least to that mark to be a part of the pool of candidates that split up those pledged delegates. So, for example, Elizabeth Warren, she's in third place at 11%. Let's just say, for instance, we go through these early primary states, and you have Biden and Sanders getting well over 15%, and then you have Elizabeth Warren in third place consistently, but under 15%. That means that she would get 0 pledged delegates, just like all of these other candidates that are under that 15% threshold. But then behind Warren, we have Buttigieg and Harris, who both come in at 7 percentage points, Beto O'Rourke at 4%, Cory Booker at 3%, Amy Klobuchar at 2%, and Michael Bennet there in 9th place at 1%. Behind him, all the other candidates here, obviously, at 1 percentage point or less. You can see how they round out all of the candidates that we have in the Democratic field. All right, so now I'm going to move over and take a look at this recent Reuters poll that just came out. And in that national picture, Joe Biden leading the way here with 30% support. And then the only other candidate in this poll that reaches double figures or double digits is Bernie Sanders, who's at that 15% threshold. That's a very important number to be holding on to. Behind him, we have Elizabeth Warren here at 8%, Kamala Harris at 6%, Pete Buttigieg at 5%. So these numbers are within the realm there of what we got from the prior poll from the Morning Consult, but Joe Biden a little bit lower at 30%, where he was at 37% over in that Morning Consult result. And taking a look at some more numbers here, I want to look at these head-to-head matchups between these upper-tier Democrats and Donald Trump. So you see Joe Biden, 47% support compared to Trump, who's at 34%. So that's a 13% point lead for Biden. Sanders also doing pretty well here. He has a 9% lead. Trump at 35%, Bernie Sanders at 44%. The other candidates not doing quite as well. Elizabeth Warren with a 4% lead over Trump. And then the other candidates here, Pete Buttigieg only a 2 percentage point lead, and Kamala Harris with a 3 percentage point lead. And some of that obviously has to do with name recognition and just the general public not knowing as much about candidates like a Pete Buttigieg and a Kamala Harris, where they're registering somewhat significant lower numbers here than what candidates like a Biden and a Sanders are getting, but Trump in each instance is at a similar mark in each of these head-to-head matchups. So now I want to move over and take a look at those state-specific results. Actually, first I'm going to go ahead and take a look at Texas. So the last video that I released, I talked about some polling that we got out of Michigan and Texas, and right after I released that, we actually got another result from the state of Texas. This is from Change Research, and the numbers are a bit more of what I would have expected in a Texas primary situation, given the fact that in the prior poll that I covered in Texas, Beto O'Rourke was significantly behind Joe Biden in that one. But in this one, much more competitive. He comes in at first place with 27% support, Biden at 24% support. And then we have Sanders and Elizabeth Warren at 13 and 12 percentage points respectively. Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg at 8%, and then Stacey Abrams and Julian Castro at 2%. And again, with that 15% support cutoff in this situation, Texas, a very large state, they have a ton of pledged delegates that are up for grabs. If this was the final results that we got in a state like Texas, that means that Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden would basically be splitting around a 50-50 in terms of those pledged delegates. Obviously, O'Rourke would likely get a little bit more in this instance where he's at 27% to Biden's 24%. But all the other candidates would get 0 pledged delegates in this instance since they aren't over that 15% threshold. But there's a caveat to that. This is split up by different congressional districts, and you can perform a little bit better in different areas and still get something in the way of splitting those pledged delegates. So it's not a statewide result necessarily, but that is something to keep in mind, and it's so vital and important to get to that 15% threshold as we go forward. And then we have one more poll that I want to take a look at in the state of Iowa. This is the CNN Des Moines Register poll, and the top tier candidates here, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, actually reducing quite a bit from where they were in the last result. So here you have Biden at 24% support and Bernie Sanders at 16%, still in first and second place respectively. But the other candidates that have boosted their way up, you have Elizabeth Warren here at 15%, of course, a very important threshold for her. And then also Pete Buttigieg right in that realm of being in that area to get those divvying up of pledged delegates at 14% support. And we take a look here at second choice. So let's say, for instance, a particular candidate bows out. Who are people looking at as their potential second choice? And it's pretty similar numbers in comparison of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and I lost where Pete Buttigieg. Oh, here we go. Buttigieg a little bit lower than that, however, but still in around the similar ballpark. And then we have people who are actively considering certain candidates. Biden's numbers aren't quite as high as some of these other potential options, which isn't necessarily extremely surprising considering the fact that he already is a lot of people's first picks. It would be a situation where if you had the large number of people's first choice, second choice, and actively considering, you'd just be running away with this. Not necessarily the case here with Joe Biden, where less people are actively considering him in comparison to candidates like Kamala Harris. Beto O'Rourke actually has quite a bit of people who are actively considering him. Bernie Sanders, those numbers are actually quite high given the fact that he is in second place there at 16%. Also Elizabeth Warren doing decently well with those actively considering numbers as well. So that's pretty much going to wrap this one up, guys. Touched on 2 national polls, 2 state-specific polls, and if you want to look at all of this data for yourself, I'll have them linked down in the video description. Subscribe for more, and I hope to see you guys back here for future videos.